Love coming into that in the morning. Good morning, Alliance community. It looks like we are live and rolling. We got at least one person watching, though that could be on YouTube. You know. Yeah, here we go. We are live in the Facebook group. Awesome. Y'all have a good weekend?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Good.
it wasn't bad.
Relaxing.
My Bengals lost. My Bengals lost to the Rams. It is what it is. We're used to
I
it.
know I know Anthony was happy out there. Anthony Cotto.
Yeah, he
He was having
was.
a
Good for
blast.
him. I won't hate on him.
I watched the
Yeah.
halftime show. Does that count?
Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of like our generation's music, huh?
Yeah, I saw a
Yeah.
meme. It said, "If you're excited about this Super Bowl halftime show, this is your reminder. You need to get a colonoscopy."
Yeah.
I thought that was
That's a good
pretty
one.
funny.
My daughter was, she's sick. She was loving it. I was in the other room working. I put in about 8 hours of computer work yesterday, and she was all excited to watch the Super Bowl, and she's in the room dancing and jumping up and down and just having a good time with it. So it was good.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
I noticed Dre and Snoop, or Dre and 50 added about 100 pounds, and Snoop got himself a 5 head now, but he still got the seeing my
I didn't
We
catch
lost
nothing.
them.
We lost you, buddy.
nice.
We lost them.
It
I'm
was it
here.
was all broke
I
up.
said it just
All
makes
I heard
me feel
was
old and
Dre,
chubby.
Snoop, 50.
Old and chubby. I get you. I get you. I get where you're going. Oh man. Well, TK is going to pray us in, and we're going to keep EJ's stepdaughter in prayer. She's heading in for surgery today. So
Yep.
with that, TK will pray us in.
Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for waking us all up. Thank you for an awesome weekend. We pray for EJ's stepdaughter today. We just ask that you be with her and the family, be with the doctors and all that good stuff. We thank you for another week at work. We ask that we would get our focus right today, that we would just put anything that's distracting us and stressing us out or worrying us, we just lay those down for you this morning and focus on what we can control and what we can do. So we thank you for that, and we thank you for everything you do. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. As a side note, so I'm glad that you brought that in the prayer. Focus is the topic of the devotion this morning. I don't know if you guys noticed, we got this nice little cool banner across the bottom. Sometimes my ADD gets the better of me, and I end up doing crazy things like that, or working on the computer for 8 hours. So today's verse is from Matthew 14, 24 through 31. And so what this is here we go. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble in a faraway land. A strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came towards them, walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. They cried out, "It's a ghost!" But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid. Take courage. I am here." Then Peter called out to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." "Yes, come," Jesus said. So Peter went out the side of the boat and walked towards Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and waves, he was terrified and began to sink. "Save me, Lord," he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. "You have so little faith. Why do you doubt me?" So For me, like the whole reason this topic came up is that it's the times that we should be paying the most attention to God or to our families or to our business or whatever. It's so easy to get sidetracked. It's so easy to lose sight of those important things. And when we lose sight of those important things, that's when we sink, right? So that's how this relates to a Valentine's message. It all makes sense in my head. But those moments that we're not focused on the things that we should be focused on, that's when the danger comes. That's when we begin to face trouble. So I'm gonna open it up to you guys, and we can bounce this around.
Yeah, I mean, Lord knows I struggle with focusing on anything. So, um, that's a constant challenge for me, whether it be the sentence I'm trying to finish or the project I'm working on or whatever. Focus is always a struggle, but I think it's important, whether it be your relationship with God, your relationship with your wife, your kids, whatever. It's important to be intentional and be present in whatever you do. We're all guilty of getting sucked into our phones and getting sucked into this and getting sucked into that. And for me, sometimes I just have to turn it off and just set it aside. And I need to do it more than I do, just because, you know, I find myself oftentimes, and I'm sure there's other people that can relate to this. Your kids are in the room and they ask you a question and they're like, Daddy, Daddy, are you listening to me? And you're like, what? And you're like, oh, what'd you say? And just be intentional, like we kind of make Sunday our day of rest, on purpose. And it's a day just to focus on whether we go to church or we watch church or we do our own little church at the house. It's a time to focus on resting, focus on God, and focus on being with family. We usually go out to eat on Sunday as a family. We have our favorite little spot, and we try not to be on our phones all day. Sometimes we'll have a little game. My wife's real strict about how much TV and screen time my kids get. But we always try to make Sunday a day to rest and focus and prepare for the week. It took me about a 3-hour nap yesterday. That was nice. That got me ready. But yeah, focus is everything, man. If you read that story, it was when Peter started focusing on that storm. And that storm can be anything. That storm can be this. That storm can be your business. If it's the weekend and you're supposed to be at home spending time with your family, and you're knee deep in business stuff, worried about this job, worried about getting this done, worried about that, and meanwhile your family's sitting there and you're not spending any time with them, guess what, guys and gals? All that stuff's going to be there Monday. It ain't going nowhere. That thing that you're stressed about or focused on or distracted by, it's going to be there Monday. Put it to the side. Spend some time with your family. That's what I always say. If you got a family and you're working every weekend, do you, but that is not the thing to do, in my opinion. Weekends are for family and for fellowship and hanging out and spending time, with the people that matter most, because work is going to be there on Monday, I guarantee you. That's just me, though.
Amen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm not robotic now. I had to get through the hills here, right here in Kentucky on the interstate. Man, it's I want to say it's a coincidence, but it's a God thing, man. That this is the topic today. Uh, it's, Mike was preaching yesterday morning. Of course, we didn't go during the Super Bowl. He did, I didn't. Preach on me if you want. But it was mentioning in service Sunday morning that the message was, I got it, or I've got everything under control until I don't. And part of the message that hit me was the part that Zach's talking about today is when everything's rolling good, God helps me get everything good in my life and my business. Everything's rolling. I start to think that I got it under control, like I done something, and I got it. And in my recovery program, we call that driving the bus. Uh, I want to get in the driver's seat and hold the steering wheel again, and start taking control of things. And real quick is when stuff starts popping up again that I don't have it again. Uh, this is the historically slow season in appliance repair, and I've not known a slow season yet because my business has grown so quickly. This is my first time experiencing it. Now, my numbers are saying otherwise. My numbers are looking twice as good as they were last year, but I got 2 techs now, and I'm paying payroll. So the bank account numbers aren't looking like we're doing great. I took my focus off of the things I needed to be. Instead of preparing for the slow months, I've spent extra money in these slow months, and it's catching up. And I'm getting a little nervous. I'm taking my eyes off the Lord. I'm taking the eyes off of the things that He has had me to do in my business and made me successful. And I've been getting nervous lately. So it's been a good reminder to hear it yesterday. Mike mentioned in his message that whatever made you successful in the first place, don't take your eyes off of that. And for me, it was God. Of course, I give a lot of credit to the Appliance Alliance network that we have and the people working for me and with me. But I believe God's put all of that in place. And when I take my mind and my focus off of it, I start to fall. So thanks for the reminder, Zach. I think God's speaking to me from all these different places.
Well, and it's the opposite can be true too, right? I mean, so like the disciples are in the middle of a storm. It's crap going on around them. Jesus says, focus on me. They're in the middle of a storm. They know where their focus should be. And he takes his eyes off of it and he focuses on the wrong thing. How many times in our own lives, in our own businesses, in our own families, have we been in the middle of a storm and we know where our focus should be, right? We know we should be planning, or we know we should be intentional with our time, or we know we should, be going to the Lord in prayer, whatever it is. But how many times in the thick of it, have we taken our focus off the thing that we should have been focusing on, already knowing that we're in the junk, right? It's super easy, like EJ's saying, I've been there, in the good times, like, oh yeah, I got this, I'm doing this, I'm making it, right? And you begin to lean on your own understanding, you begin to drive the bus yourself, right? That's super common to happen. But how many times in the middle of a storm have you taken your focus off where it needs to be, right? I've experienced that in my life far too many times. I think that goes, kind of like we were talking with the ADD. It's hard to focus sometimes, but just keeping, to highlight what you said, TK, keep it intentional. Whatever it is, you need to be intentional in what you're doing, right? You intentionally slot that time. So I am one of those that works on the weekend because I'm running multiple businesses. And so I kind of don't have a choice at this point, but my wife and I are very intentional with my daughter. I'm very intentional with my time with them, right? So I went to church. I did what I had to do. I focused on my work that I had to do there. And then me and the family went out. We went and we had lunch, and then we went. My daughter loves that we got a Guitar Center, and she just loves walking through Guitar Center. It's her favorite store in the world, and she asks all the time to go there. So yesterday we went and we spent, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour just wandering through Guitar Center. It's not that big of a store, but she's 6, so she can, wander around a couple dozen times. But taking that intentional time. They knew that I had work to do on Saturday. Saturday is my edit day, so I get up to the office about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I typically don't get back home till around 3 o'clock in the evening. But then once I'm home, my daughter knows it's daddy time, right? She knows that her daddy is there, and is going to spend time with her and hang out with her and all that, And then same thing yesterday. She knew I had computer work to get done, so we spent that very intentional time. You got to be intentional. You got to plan it. You got to focus on the things that are important when they're important. And same thing with business. You got to be intentional with that time. You have to. If you have a time set aside to do planning, do that planning. Shut the phone off. Shut the whatever. Don't focus on anything else but what you're doing. I've had to do that in the last month or so myself. I take these half days and just everything gets shut off, and I focus solely on the task at hand, whatever it is, business, family, training, whatever. You have to be intentional about that time for sure.
Yeah, for me, it helps a lot to actually schedule everything. If it's not scheduled, you're not going to do it. And I'm not talking about just business stuff. I'm talking about everything. We have a schedule of when we do date night. When I do date night with my wife, we have a schedule for that. We have a schedule for when we do date night with every Wednesday night. It's date night with the kids. Either I take one of the kids out or my wife takes one of the kids out, because those things are important. If something's important to you, you have to schedule it. Because if it's important and you say, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that," and you don't put it into your schedule, it's not that important to you. Or maybe you don't even have a schedule. Maybe you're one of those fly by the seat of your pants people. I encourage you, if you are that type of person, because I used to be, get you a schedule and make a list of what's important to you in your business, in your family, your spiritual walk with the Lord, all that stuff. Make a schedule and stick to it. And not to say that it's going to be, never change, like stuff's going to come up and things are going to happen. But at least if you have the schedule, you can know, all right, Wednesday after work is I'm either taking one of my kids to dinner or my wife's taking one of my kids to dinner and I'm staying home with the rest of them. Friday night after work, I have a schedule. I do the happy hour as soon as I get off. Then I tuck my kids in bed, and then it's date night. After the kids in bed, it's date night. We either go out or we order in or we do whatever. And because those things are important. Since it's Valentine's Day, I'll say this: if you're not scheduling time to spend with your wife or your husband or whatever, you need to, because it's important. I know it might not be as romantic, but guess what? You know what's really not romantic? Not spending any time with them. And if you schedule it, you can plan more romantic things or whatever. If that's your wife or husband's love language. But that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah. So I heard it said, one of the coaching groups I was in, that if you have an empty calendar, watch it fill fast with crap, right? If something is important, get it on the calendar, because otherwise that calendar is going to fill up with crap that doesn't matter, right? That family time, spiritual time, business time, all that, it reigns true for all of it. If you don't slot that intentional time, your calendar will fill up with crap. It will. I promise you it will fill with crap. I've seen it happen in my own life.
Yep.
What's important? Focus on it. You know. You got anything,
Yep.
EJ?
I think EJ's freezing over there.
He froze again. I know he was going to say something in the middle, and then he
EJ,
disappeared.
come back.
Can you hear me yet?
We can hear you.
Hello. You can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a little bit outside of the big city here, Lexington. Can you hear me still?
Yep.
Good to go.
All right. You guys look like you were freezing. No, I was going to back up what you guys said too. Zach, I really like how, you definitely dedicate time for your daughter, and you've done that ever since we've known you. You got hard stops on the weeknight meetings to put your daughter to bed, and the thought popped up to me. Not everybody has a traditional weekend, and you make that time intentional, whether it is the weekend or not. And for me and TK, it's the weekend. Uh, and I'll work a little more of a weeknight, uh, where you dedicate that time to your family. I'm doing it more on the weeknights and the whole weekend. We've got a separate cell phone for our business, and it stays in another room all weekend. We pop in and check on it every now and again just to make sure ain't nothing crazy happening. But we definitely set it aside. I need to be better about scheduling events. I just set aside time where I don't have anything planned. So I definitely make time for my wife. I probably need to do better about making time for my kids. We try to do a movie night once a week, but I think I'd do better if it was scheduled. It's a good point. But to the business side, we've all made advances in this area in the last month. Uh, TK resolved that after asking, he was going to schedule 2 hours every morning of his schedule to work on his business instead of in it. I've been trying to do that more. I don't schedule the time. It's worked out that I've had a lot more time, and now Zach is going half days now that his guy Mike is trained up and running around. It's important. We all need to do this. Be intentional about the time we have and focus in the areas that we need to focus on, and network if you have to. We hold each other accountable. When we catch one of the others slipping, we have that accountability structure to keep each other honest and focused. That's all I got. As far as motivational Monday goes, get out there and get it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I don't say that because I know does. Zach's a very scheduled person, and other people have different schedules. I guess my point is, and maybe my point came across a little wrong, and I need to reword that. Just make sure you're scheduling times for what's important. Whether it's the weekend, whether it's certain times during the week, whether it's whatever. I mean, even this morning devotion time, it's scheduled. Um, and that's what's important is that you schedule that time, whatever you prioritize as a top priority in your life. For me, it's God, family, my business, and friends too. Friends are important to me. Um, and schedule those times, whether it be weeknights, mornings, whatever. Just make a schedule. And let other people know your schedule. Like if you a lot of arguments in the marriage world can be avoided if you just make a schedule and share your schedule with your wife. My wife knows Monday night at 8 o'clock, I'm on the mastermind with the guys. My wife knows 7:15 every morning, I'm leaving to head to the office to get ready for the day and do what I do. She knows my schedule. I know her schedule. She knows Friday nights when I get off work, I'm hopping on the happy hour and having a few beers sometimes in the driveway or whatever, talking to the guys in the van. She knows these things, and it eliminates so many unnecessary arguments. Oh, I
For
didn't know
sure.
you were doing that. How many of y'all heard that before? Oh, I didn't know you were doing that.
Well, and let's talk about communication. Communication is key because I knew exactly what TK was saying. I had no issue with what TK was saying. I was just sharing a different perspective, but communication is important, right? I didn't say I hear your point and I know where you're coming from. Here's another side of that. So that is critical because I know where TK's heart is and I know where my heart is, right? My family knows that I can't sit still. So, like, short of if we're going to go and do the zoo on a Saturday or something like that, because we got Brookfield Zoo really close to us, um, I tend to work because I can't sit still. It's just the way that my mind works. But I do have these very intentional pockets that are set aside specifically for my family, so I can give them that dedicated, almost dense time, right? Like that, just like so intentional time, right? That's how it works for me. Yeah, those hard stops are important. Since my daughter was born, like, we put her to bed at night, right? And so we go in and we read stories and we read the Bible stories, and we sing her a lullaby, and then that's our very intentional time at night with her. Those hard stops are important, and you got to schedule them. And communication is key. Whether it's business, I've seen things where I've had stuff scheduled and I didn't communicate it to my staff, or I didn't communicate it to my wife, or I didn't communicate it to business partners, whatever. And then, yeah, that's where arguments happen. That's where frustration creeps up because you have to communicate. So focus and communication is the theme for this Valentine's Day, because if you don't have either of those, Valentine's Day is going to be pretty darn miserable.
Yeah, and do that same thing like Zach said in your business. Schedule, if it's important to have a meeting to go over things once a week, like for me, every Tuesday morning, everybody on my team knows we do a meeting every Tuesday morning. And there's no, oh, I didn't know that was happening. It's just part of what we do. And I'm actually, we've been doing Thursday night meetings too, um, to just go over open jobs and make sure all parts are ordered. Just basically check up on everything and make sure everything's running good. And it has been a game changer for us, because if you don't, there was like that little period when we went to ASTI and a couple other things were going on. We'd missed a few days and we were just crazy. We went like 3 or 4 weeks without doing that stuff, without doing the weekly meetings. And it showed, like it wasn't like a detrimental thing, but things definitely run a lot smoother when we're intentional and don't just go into the meeting like, oh, I hope this meeting goes good. One thing I learned from EJ, he sent me this um, team, basically a meeting notes thing that he template. That's the word I was looking for, template. And I use that template every week. I go into the meeting. I know what I'm going to be talking about. I send it to my team before that meeting starts. Only one of my team actually looks at it, but that's okay. Thank you, Beth. You're awesome. Um,
That's the important one anyway.
yeah, she's the one that needs to look at it, and they can add stuff to the notes. Like, hey, I want to ask about this. I want to, whatever. So, communication, be intentional. Whatever aspect of your life it is, man, it's so important.
That's awesome. Well, get out there. Love your wives, love your husbands, love your families, whatever it is this Valentine's Day for you. Some people are single, but you have families or you have people that you love. Get out there and be intentional and schedule some time with those that you love. We will see you tomorrow for Testimony Tuesday. Have a good day, guys.
Peace.